the shooting range. In this episode, pages of history, Super Zero versus American fighters, Squadmates, Middle East, and Metal Beasts, Night Hunting Leopard. We're going to continue talking about the new vehicles of this winter, and today we'd like to try and tame a large feline predator, the top German Leopard 2A7V. Is it worthy of leading a famous family? Let's find out. At first, it might seem no different from the 2A6 version, but there are some unique features here nevertheless. The front of the hull received some additional composite screens. The new tank still lags a little behind the Swedish Leopards, boasting similar additions, but any extra durability for the hull is a nice bonus that can sometimes save you from being damaged or destroyed. The rest of the armoring is pretty typical. You don't want to expose the lower front plate, and there's only a small vulnerable area in the gun mantlet. Getting hit there may mean some damage, but you're unlikely to lose the machine. As for the tank's own firepower, it's still on the same impressive level. The 2A7 is armed with a two-plane stabilized 120mm gun, with a barrel length of 55 calibers. It can use the top-ranking DM53 shells to achieve 650mm of penetration, so don't expect any issues with damaging your enemies. The engine compartment still houses a 1,500 horsepower strong engine, although it has a slower acceleration due to a higher mass. A maximum speed of 61 kilometers an hour is enough for most situations, but don't expect the haste that earlier Leopards had shown from this one. Actually, the main new feature of the 2A7 isn't the improved armor. As far as we can tell, Leopard fans were mostly looking forward to a high-definition gunner's thermal sight. Well, this Leopard can now see perfectly well at night, and even hunt in the darkest of environments. All in all, this German tank can't boast numerous changes, but it certainly covers some of the weak spots. The Leopard 2 family has always had a balanced set of traits, and most of its members are currently up to all the standards of high-ranking battles. And we are confident in saying that the 7th version is the major German cat of early 2024. If someone ever tried to hold a contest for a World War II aircraft with the tallest unfounded tails ever, the Japanese Mitsubishi A7M Reppu would win hands down. Some even believe that Jiro Horikoshi's Super Zero could have dragged the war way further, or even changed the tide. Allegedly, it got no chance to do either, because the military picked the Shiden instead. Others say that the engineer himself was secretly opposing the militarists and sabotaged the final stages of this genius aircraft's development to prevent the armed forces from delving deeper into the devastating war. Is there any truth to these notions? Well, let's take a closer look at the aircraft proper. We'd like to begin with some solid facts. The Reppu project took off in 1940, when the Navy finalized its proposition for a new carrier fighter to replace the Zero. Same as the last time, basically all aircraft companies looked at the terms and decided to dodge the task, stating that they were too busy for another one. Except for Mitsubishi, although it too only took up the project because it didn't want to lose face. A fighter with a combat range and maneuverability equaling the Zero, but also armed and with an extra 150 kilometers an hour to boot? Even preliminary calculations clearly showed that such a plane was impossible to build. It would have to be not just big, but ginormous. And that size would need a suitable engine, an engine the Japanese industry simply wasn't making. Maybe the Navy could tone down the demands, compromise a little. No. Horikoshi-san, you have created the Genius Zero. We need another miracle, and this is an order. Well, what do? Maybe refer to your terrible schedule and the J2M Raiden land-based interceptor project? Well, when the program was resumed in 1942 and the terms were reinstated, the now non-revolutionary and pretty regular aircraft was built in just a couple of months. and all it did was hang out in the hangar, waiting for a suitable engine. The strongest one they had, the 18-cylinder Nakajima Homare, was a good fit for the lighter Ki-84 with the Army. It was also suitable for the Shiden, a plane the Reppu is often compared to, despite the fact that Kawanishi's machine wasn't a carrier-based fighter. And besides, the Shiden was presented to the military the way it was, in a take-it-or-leave-it kind of way. And they took it all right. Gotta fly something in this war, after all. The Reppu, on the other hand, was squeezed into impossible limits from the very start. After the war, Horikoshi wrote about it plainly, not even trying to hide his disappointment. Even the strongest modification of the Nakajima Homare engine installed on the prototype A7M1 in 1944 couldn't pull enough power. Mitsubishi had to urgently develop a new engine with a larger volume and more thrust. But by the time they could finally fit a prototype A7M2 with one, all work had lost meaning. It was 1945, and Japan had no aircraft carriers left that could host the future Super Zeros. On top of that, the Navy had no missions that required a fantastic combat range for fighters. Hundreds and thousands of American bombers were already above Japan itself. So this begs the question, if the war had lasted longer and the Reppu had received a more or less working engine, could it have rivaled American aircraft? Well, even if we ignore the economy side, meaning the nation would need thousands of this aircraft and tens of thousands of skilled workers to service it, this Japanese fighter was still inferior to both the P-38 and the P-47. We truly doubt that better aerodynamics and samurai spirit alone could have changed the outcome of the war. Today we're giving our squad mates a chance to leave the cold winter climates and head to the Middle East to warm up, and maybe show off a couple of useful tricks as well. This time they're going to play for the left team as an example. In scenario 1, both of you should spawn in the south and head towards the southern part of the town right away. One player needs to drive along the road to the edge of the map, while the other should follow line F. This way you'll be able to vice point C later. But first, you'll need to thin out the enemy lines a little. Pay attention to spots of exposure, and you'll have all the chances of catching a few enemy sides there. After a few juicy frags, you can move on and continue your advance. The southern player should approach the capture area and take it, launching the countdown for the red team. Meanwhile, the other one should move towards the center of the map and assume control over the approaches to the area. Now it's time to exploit this success and head north. Move in parallel towards the town, closer to point B. Same as before, start your attack from two sides at the same time to catch the defending foes unawares. Once the second point is yours, spread out along the front line and find good defensive positions. In scenario 2, pick different spawn points and head for the central point to focus all your might in a single place. There's almost no firing lines on the way there, so lose no time and breach into the capture area. Use combined effort to take it under your control and prepare to defend it. Once the first enemy waves are deflected, your squad can move further. Your next goal is the northern part of the map. It offers no chance to split up, so drive together towards the rocks in square D4 and stop before the road leading northeast. This place requires extra care since there's a high chance of being attacked, so one of the players should stay and cover the other one while they cross the road. If you spot an enemy, you need to angle your vehicle as quickly as you can to meet the incoming shells at the best angle and minimize possible damage. You can consider yourself safe as soon as one of the squad mates finds their way to the cisterns. They can now enter point A from a flank and help the Allied forces to paint it blue. Meanwhile, the player left near the road will meet any unwelcome guests that may want to crash the party. Remember that the main advantage of even the smallest squads is communication and coordination. Exchange intel, help each other out, and even vastly superior enemy numbers won't be a problem for you. Meanwhile, it's time for us to answer some of the questions you left under previous episodes. The first question was sent by a player called P Thunder. What does IAS mean, and please explain it? Hi! IAS stands for Indicated Airspeed. It's defined by air pressure measured by special dedicated sensors. This is the speed an aircraft pilot actually needs because all limits are tied to it, like stall speed or the usage of high-lift devices. S35SA38 asks, how good is the Chinese IS-2 1944? Hi! The late IS-2 is a good tool for a cautious, deliberate playstyle. Pick your positions and targets carefully so that you always have a chance to retreat for a reload. Many opponents of this tank can penetrate its armor, so experienced players often drive their IS-2 tanks in reverse to enhance the protection of the combat compartment. Another question comes from Adir Parpara. What's the difference between the Vautours in the Israeli tech tree? Hi! The N modification is an all-weather interceptor. It has an extra crew member, a radar, and more powerful engines. There's little difference between their tactics, though. Vera Kupkova writes, what's the best German heavy tank? Hi! All the German heavies are great, but if we have to pick only one, we'd go for the very first Tiger. It has the best efficiency at its battle rating. And the last comment for today was written by Jean. When will the AMX, Italian jet, get a metal beast? Hi! It's already in the works, so stay tuned for the next episodes. That's it for today. You've been watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment, and the next episode will premiere the following Sunday at 4 p.m. GMT or noon Eastern Time. Subscribe and click the bell if you don't want to miss our next videos. Don't forget to give your leopards their well-deserved pets. Leave a like, share your thoughts and comments, and see you next week.